do my South Africa thing here, okay? She's from South Africa. And she probably has no idea how great of a spiritual heritage and how much her nation has blessed the world. And how much your nation is going to bless the world. But I am like Jacqueline Francois Dutois. I don't know what Cindy's from yet. I haven't met him. He's South African, and but the guy is just like walking in this great revelation. And combine that with how many people were in Tracy a couple weeks ago or a month ago when Roland was there?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a lot of fun. But Roland Baker was over there, and he started sharing stuff. And so I just kind of put what he and Francois just started like whacking my life. My life's been whacked ever since. But he talked about how somewhere to go. Here we go. He talked about how God spent all of eternity, however much on that side of creation was all of eternity, but he spent a long time coming up with the idea of like who my perfect companion ought to be, and he came up with you and me. But I want to tell the love story of how he did that. I mean, what he did for us and what we're supposed to be. Okay, that's enough stuff off of here. I just got to thinking, what is going on with this? So, in the beginning, Genesis 1:1, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And he saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from darkness. And that was the first day. The next day, God says, "Let there be an expanse between the heavens, the waters, to separate the water from the water." And he made the expanse, and he separated the water, and he called it heaven. And then the rest was separated, and it was the morning and evening, the second day. Then the third day, I mean, God's just kind of going, okay, I'm going to do this. And then on the third day, he says, "Well, let the water under the sky be gathered in one place, and let dry ground appear." And God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Now, normally, I mean, for years and years and years, I just read that, and like I picture like a globe, you know, where you get like the blue for the ocean, and then the green or the brown for the land. But what did God really create? I mean, he did that. But let's just like zoom in a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Rocky Mountains, Baja Peninsula, Alaska, Yosemite, Serengeti Desert. What about like those mountains in China? I mean, you know, like where that bay is and those like domey mountains. Yeah, I mean, just like all the beautiful things you see. God made the land and he made the seas. He made the white sand beaches with the tropical turquoise water, and he made just the beauty of everything. And let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on that land, and the bear fruit with seed in it. And then the land produced vegetation, and God saw that that was good. And there was morning and evening. That was the third day. So, not only did he create all those beautiful mountains and deserts and just vast, beautiful seas and beaches, but he also creates all the plants. I mean, there's the Amazon rainforest, there's the Sierra Nevadas, there's the Santa Cruz with the redwoods, there's palm trees for the beaches. You know, the white sand and the turquoise water beach. You need palm trees. You gotta have those, and it's all there. I mean, if you've ever had a chance to like get around and just see stuff, travel around locally or travel around the world, there is such beauty that God has created. It's like so amazing to see. And that was only like the third day. Maybe it was the fourth day. See, that was the third day. So then the fourth day, God says, "Well, let there be lights in the expanse of the sky. You know, separate the day from the night. Let them serve as signs to mark seasons and days and years." And that was so. And he made two great lights. He made the greater light to govern the day and the lesser light to govern the night. And he made stars. And he set them in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that was good. So now, not only do we have this amazing world of land and seas and beaches and vegetation with every kind of flower and orchid and every beautiful thing that God made, now we have the stars in the sky at night, but like without any pollution, without any lights, without nothing to block it. And have you ever been out there like in the wilderness and you've seen these things, like this constellation, it's just what God has created, is awesome. So now he's painted the whole sky with just beauty and just the stars at night. So we have this beautiful world that's being created. We have this beautiful thing that we're going to experience. And then God said, let the water teem with living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth and across the expanse of the sky. And he created the great creatures of the sea and every living and moving thing with which water teems according to their kinds, and every winged bird. And he said, be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the water in the seas, and let the birds increase in the earth. And that was the 5th day. So now, you've got tropical fish. You've got tuna. You've got everything I like to fish for. You've got a beautiful expanse of Baja, California, which is some of the most amazing desert, the most beautiful stark vegetation in the world that looks like it's, there's hardly life, but it's teeming with life. And you go and stand on the beach, you cast a fishing line in that water, and it is teeming. There is life. There's so much life. And God filled the seas with life. He filled the waters with life. And he filled the skies with birds. And he filled the forests with birds. And he made the parrots with their beautiful colors. Just think of everything beautiful that you've ever seen. You were talking about this last night, Esteban, just the beauty of nature, and just think, this is all getting set up. And then, that was the 5th day. Then on the 6th day, God says, well, let the land produce living creatures, livestock, wild animals. And the wild animals came, the livestock came, the creatures moved along the ground, they came. And God saw that was good. So now we've got all the exotic animals, we've got all the cattle, we've got everything. We've got this whole place that is just like prime. It is full of life. It is full of beauty. It has been just painted by God's hand. It took him 6 days. It usually takes God about that fast to do anything. God is like really fast, but it took him 6 days to do this. That's a long time for God, I think. That's a long time for God. And he took 6 of his days, whatever those are, to create this. And then he saw that it was good. And then God said, let us make man in our likeness and in our image. He had all eternity to think of this. He had all eternity to design what we were going to be. He took 6 God days to create earth, a place for us to live and a place for us to inhabit. And then he says, I'm going to make man in my image. It says, let them rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and everything. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. And he blessed them. And then it says, and God saw that all that he had made, and it was very good. It was very good. I never read Genesis like that until just a couple weeks ago. Thinking about, what? God may have had something in mind when he did that. And that was you. And then he made us in his image and likeness. Oh, man. And then God rested on the 7th day because he was done. So on the 7th day, he rested from his work. And then it talks about, the gold from the river Pishon and the different rivers and so on. And then, then God's only got Adam there so far in Genesis chapter 2. And so he says, and the Lord made a woman from the rib he'd taken out of man because he saw that it wasn't good for him to be alone. Everything else had mates and stuff like that. And so he made a woman from a rib, and he brought her to the man. And the man said, this is now the bone of my bones and the flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. And for this reason, they will leave his father and mother, and they will be united to his wife. And a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and they will become one flesh. And the wife, and the man and his wife were both naked, but they weren't ashamed. God, at that point, he created marriage. He created a relationship that is so beautiful. Imagine, guys, God designing your wife. He designed mine. Dude, I mean, does God know exactly what's perfect or what? I mean, here's Adam in the garden all by himself. Adam's going, well, that's an ape. That's a sheep. Those are bulls over there. Those are penguins back there on the ice. And all of a sudden, God creates Eve. It says here, and I'm like, dude. I'll bet he really liked it. I mean, here's something that's designed by God and handed to you by God. Marriage is good, guys. Anybody who's not married should get married. Somebody bears witness to that? Oh, my. Okay, and then and then they messed up. God, He made him in the image and likeness, and He said, do whatever you want to do, just don't eat of this tree here, in the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And so they said, okay. And so they lived in the garden, and they said they worked the garden. Now, I don't think working the garden was the same as like working the soil that they had to do later. Working the garden was like, maybe I'll pick this bouquet here, and I'll just put this bouquet of flowers over here. And I'm going to cut this grass so I want a little lawn. I'm making this like how I like it. This is cool. I'm not going to work for anything because I can just go pick fruit off of any tree and eat it. I'm not hungry. I'll just go eat fruit. It's good. Oh, and there's some lettuce growing. I'll just have that. So finally, but then they sinned. They came and the serpent said, so is it true that God's told you can't eat of anything in this thing? He said, well, we can eat anything except the fruit of that tree. And he goes, well, God's just holding out on you. I mean, He said that, like, if you do eat that, you'll be like God. And they already were like God. So, I mean, how do you get duped into that? I don't know, but they did. They got duped. And they ate that, and then through Adam, then the Lord said, well, the day you do eat that, you're surely going to die. And then He pronounced their sentence on them. And so He says, and all of a sudden, where they're living in the Garden of Eden, where it's just like pleasure, all of a sudden, God says to them, He says, cursed is the ground because of you. And through painful toil, you will eat of it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you. I don't think these existed before. And you will eat the plants of the field. And by the sweat of your brow, it starts to sound like work. You will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, to dust you will return. And then God said, so man's become like one of us now. He knows the difference between good and evil. So he can't be allowed to reach out and grab the tree of life in that state. He's fallen. I can't allow him to eat that tree of life and have him live forever. My plan is not to have people living forever in a fallen state. My plan is to have people living forever in a redeemed, restored state. Yeah. So He drove them out of the garden to save them. So they wouldn't grab that and be stuck in eternity in a fallen state.